What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. Joining me this week is Tina Amini.
Hello, Scoop.
Sam Claiborne.
Hey, everybody.
And Tom Marks.
Hello.
And we've got a great show for you this week. We're going to talk about Mega Man. Tina will give us a report from MomoCon in Atlanta. But first, a new Fallout game was just announced, which is not something we get to say very often.
No.
Fallout
About once a year now.
No way.
You don't think so?
Since Fallout 4, that was like 2015.
I think you're thinking of Skyrim.
What about that? What about that little mobile game?
Which little mobile game?
Fallout Shelter?
That was
Shelter.
the same year as Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Does that count?
So usually we get 2 a year.
We get
Does-
2 a
does it
year.
count?
2 a year, then a 5-year
every
gap.
few years.
Yeah.
Fallout 76, smart Alec, is the new Fallout game announced ahead of E3, and Bethesda just gave us a teaser trailer with sort of like a mood piece with the title, but we're learning apparently some more details about the game. A report from Kotaku reveals that sources tell them this will reportedly be an online survival RPG along the lines of DayZ or Rust, not a typical single-player Fallout RPG.
They said it'll still have like quests and a story.
Yep.
But yeah, it's
still
definitely
have-
different.
Still have the base building from 4, but now in an online survival RPG setting. Tom, you're familiar with DayZ and Rust?
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with those games.
Right.
What's the elevator pitch for those games?
So I mean, a billion games have come out also like it, like Ark and Conan Exiles. It was the flavor of the month a while ago, which is kind of funny that they're now touching on it. The quick elevator pitch is you're in a shared server with a bunch of people. You start with very little resources. Most of them start you on a beach with nothing. You punch trees, you get sticks, you turn those sticks into tools, you break down bigger trees, you build eventually bases, you get storage, you get better equipment and weapons. How much of that they're borrowing, we don't know. I kind of doubt that they're going to make you punch trees, but like we don't
Aren't many
know.
How does death and survival and stuff work?
So the survival part of it is that most of them you have to have food and water. Some of them even bring in like heat and that sort of thing. Like you can get too hot or you can get too cold if you go to like snowy areas.
They stole that from Breath of the Wild, I think.
Yeah, that's the original actually survival game. But I think death for most of them is you drop your inventory, whatever you have on you, and then you respawn at your base. And you can build chests to store things. Some of the games have permadeath characters so that you might also level up stats, and then if you die, your character's stats get wiped. Others have it so that you keep your stats, and that's the only thing you keep on you. A bunch of different games do it different ways.
Well, a lot of the experience of those games is people trolling one another, right? And just
Yeah.
killing each other and stealing each other's stuff, yeah.
Pretty much.
That's
Base
the
raid.
only
leading them into
gameplay I've
traps.
ever seen in Rust is that
Yeah.
nobody has a base. People are just naked and killing
Yeah,
each other.
people run around
Well,
naked.
a lot of the servers, what people do is they'll get clans together. They'll play with their friends. They get these big bases, and then they go on raiding parties to attack other people. And it's almost like old school PC gaming. Like has a little bit of a bastion in these games because you start to know the people on your servers, right? You really get to like become familiar with these people. There are role playing servers for a lot of them where you like pretend to be characters with
That's
them.
why it's so easy to troll.
Yeah, and it's
A lot of betrayal.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how Bethesda takes what they're saying as story and quests and puts it into this formula that they say that the Kotaku report says is heavily inspired by games like Rust.
Did you see there's a discussion around when it's set?
Yeah.
And what is that from?
So there's a date on the Pip-Boy in the teaser trailer.
Okay.
And that's October 27th, 2102.
That's right.
Which means that we won't have biomutants in the game.
Yeah, it means
Except
we won't have
for-
super mutants.
Yeah.
Well, so, where does that put it in the Fallout timeline?
2077 is the war.
2077 is the war, yes.
That's why I was hoping 76 was implying that it was like the year before the war.
So 76 is the 300th, 2076 is the 300th anniversry of the United
The
States.
Thricentennial.
The Thricentennial. And it's the day that Vault 76 opened. And we know this because it's mentioned in the poster. There's a poster in the teaser trailer, but also the news announcer at the opening of Fallout 4, if you like sit and just listen to him and don't answer the door for the guy who comes to like do your character stats thing at the very beginning of Fallout 4, will eventually be like, Vault Tech plans to roll out more vaults after the successful opening of Vault 76. Like they've been dotting in Easter eggs for 76 for a while now. And we know that it was open on 76.
I'm confused. Why did the vault open before the war started?
So people
Get
can
people
get
in
in,
there.
and then once the bomb sirens go off, like the beginning of Fallout 4, once the sirens go off, everyone
they're
runs
shutting
in
doors,
and
yeah.
it closes down. And then
But you can get in ahead of time. Start making yourself at home.
exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
And then, according to the lore from a computer terminal in the Citadel in Fallout 3, the vault was supposed to stay closed for 20 years and then automatically open. It was what's called a control vault, which means that no weird experiments were going on in it. It was
In
just
76.
In 76, yeah.
That's funny. So like an actual control in an experiment,
Like a control, yeah.
All of the other experiments are running, even though every vault is a social experiment.
Yeah.
Just because putting people in a vault
Right.
is an experiment.
And so, yeah, the setting is 2102. And according to this Pip-Boy in the teaser trailer.
Right.
That's important because it's the year the villain from Fallout 1 was created. Like, he falls into this...
Fallout 1.
Yeah, Fallout 1. This guy named the Master falls into a vat of... I can't remember what it's called. Forced evolution virus or something like that. And it turns him into this horrible mutant. And that's the year he's created. And then he goes on to do a bunch of stuff like Tina said, create the super mutants. So we're in this really, really early period. The most recent or the earliest Fallout game before this one was Fallout 1 in 2161. And then it jumps to 2240 something. So we're set about 200 years before, if the date on the Pip-Boy in the teaser is right, it's at 200 years before Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4.
And only a scant few decades after the bombs dropped.
Yeah, 25 years.
Yeah. So that means that there are no mutated things probably and stuff like that. It's just
Yeah, it's just
humans.
all the jerk players that you're playing with apparently, if the rumors are to be true.
Yeah, it's a cool setting. It's an exciting setting just because it's one we haven't really seen much of actually in game for the Fallout universe and hasn't even been mentioned since Fallout 1.
And then is there a geographic setting that's indicated?
So that's another thing that came out of the terminal in Fallout 3 is that it's listed under the DC area vaults. So we know that, and the song in the teaser trailer is singing West Virginia.
Yeah.
So
Which is from the 70s.
it's
Yeah, that's a weird difference. Is that "Take Me Home, Country Roads" is a song from 1971, whereas like all Fallout stuff, even though it takes place in the future of a future event, is all like 50s referential, and it's always about 40s and 50s music.
Well,
and
they
stuff
had to
like
find
that.
a song with a reference to location. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, yeah. I mean that must
Gotta
be
change
what
your
it is.
theme. Yeah.
yeah.
So if it's this online survival RPG along the same lines of Daisy and Rust, the concept would be Vault 76 is open, everyone is emerging and starts killing each other. Like that's why would they?
So one of the things that is also in the teaser trailer is they say like we have to rebuild and stuff like that. So one of the
Maybe
things
it's
from
more
this
cooperative then.
Yeah, one of these things from this rumor of if it's like Rust and DayZ, these games have not DayZ, but like Rust has an emphasis on building. So maybe you leave the vault and you have to rebuild society, which obviously doesn't work given the later Fallout games. But who knows?
So the Vault has Vault 76 has 500 people.
500 people.
Yeah. So is that gonna be like 500 people servers? Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe that's what it means. But I do wonder how much Bethesda is going to decide to retcon from all of this because like they couldn't have known when they were making Fallout 3 and putting random info about random vaults that this was going to be the game they made for 76. So like when you see things like the population was 500 or like it's a control one, maybe later they'll just be like,
Half
no,
of
it
them
actually
died.
wasn't. Yeah, half of them
Yeah,
were all
exactly. They
dead.
didn't all make it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Tom with pneumonia got in there.
Yep.
That's a reference to an earlier.
Do you think this
joke.
game will be fun for people that like Fallout, or for people it'll be fun for people that like DayZ?
Who knows, man? I really do, like. It's going to come down to what the balance is, right? If it is really a Rust but in the Fallout universe, then I don't think it'll appeal to Fallout fans. But if there are more of an emphasis on quest and story, then that might imply. Like I genuinely don't know. We're really gonna have to wait till E3 to just like see what this looks like.
Well, at
Or
least-
everyone who played that Arma 3 mod and played DayZ and Rust and all that will go and play this one.
Yeah, maybe.
for us Fallout fans, then we have Let's Go Eevee to look forward to.
Yes,
Go Eevee.
that's
That
the one.
is the
I mean,
follow up for
I
sure.
think Eevee's a mutation. So
Almost certainly, Eevee definitely mutates into other Pokemon.
Is a stone a forced evolution virus? That's the real question here.
That is the real question.
I don't know.
Scientifically, yes.
What I wonder about what the combat in this game would be like is that what I like about Fallout 4 or just Fallout combat is the VAT system, which makes it turn-based essentially. So I don't know how that
Yeah,
would
you
play
can't
out.
really slow down somebody on a server. and
Taking
target
the VAT
or-
system out of Fallout is
It's just a shooter
limits
builder.
my
Yeah.
a
my
very
interest.
rusty shooter in more ways than one because base building in this is going to be like a bunch of garbage. Like it was in Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Which always like disappoints me. It's like I want to make like a really cool creation of my own, like Minecraft. It gives you like the tools to make whatever you want. But Fallout's like you can make whatever you want. It's gonna be rusty and gross.
Well, it wouldn't. So things maybe wouldn't have rusted.
A bomb still fell.
Right, but 25 years later, maybe things are destroyed but not rusty. Like that's going to be the interesting.
destroyed but not rusty.
The era is going to be really weird. Like,
Radiated, shiny.
exactly. I'm just saying,
No, I hear you.
one is better than both, right?
Like, how will this world look different if it is 100 years before it's completely deteriorated from Fallout? Yeah, that's interesting.
And then I wonder if this is a free-to-play game. If this is a game of
Right.
service.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't
Does Bethesda have any precedent for paying for playing right now?
So Bethesda said a while ago, I can't remember exactly when it was, that they are working on a freemium AAA game. Which
Did
I
they use the
hate
word
that
freemium?
They used the word freemium. So yeah, this seems like if it is an online game, this seems like a good candidate for that at least.
Yeah.
I don't know if it necessarily will be, but I would not be surprised given their past comments.
And these same sources that leaked these details to Kotaku also say the gameplay is, quote, rapidly changing.
Right.
I don't know what that means. If a game is on the cusp
Well,
of
the
being...
map is narrowing in, and you have
Yeah,
to like, survive.
Exactly. A game is about to be fully unveiled at E3. If the gameplay is still rapidly changing at this point, what is that how you mean it? Do you mean the gameplay
Yeah, I
rapidly
don't know if that
changes
means
during
development.
gameplay, or it's changing in development
Like
right
it starts
now?
out as a kart racer?
Well, that's how I took it. Was that
Me too.
That
They're
their
making
focus
changes
was
right
changing.
now,
Yeah.
which is like, which is a little bit odd, but also screams battle royale to me. Like they're scrambling to
Right.
adapt somehow to the biggest trend in games.
So the last time a Fallout game was announced, a mainline one, because Shelter was announced also at the same year. 4 was teased before E3, and then it was shown at E3, and
then
it
out
came
that
out
November.
that year. So we hope that that's the case this time.
yeah,
Be cool.
it can launch into open beta.
But if it doesn't, you have Let's Go Eevee.
That's really your fallback, isn't it? If this game doesn't
Or
pan out?
Pokemon Quest.
I'm gonna
free
play it.
today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Pokemon Quest as well. You're playing that already, right?
yeah. I played it a little bit. It's fine.
What's your hot take?
That's my
thrilled,
hot take,
yeah.
Is
it's
Eevee in it?
fine. Not yet, because you you pick a starter Pokemon and then
No
you
deal.
eat a bunch
Yeah,
of
no
other.
buy.
Well, I mean, eventually you have to cook the proper food to attract Eevee.
Okay.
I assume
Sounds
that
like
is
a
how that
Damon
game works.
I don't think that's a naming game. In any case, we will see more of Fallout 76 at Bethesda's press conference, which is Sunday of E3. I believe that's June 10th. You can watch that right here on IGN. So they'll have Fallout 76, Rage 2, and then what else? They'll have they've also teased a new major AAA game from Bethesda Game Studios. Is that right?
Unless this
Unless
is
you think
that.
this is it.
So they've said in the past that they're working on like 3 AAA huge Bethesda Game Studio things, or 2 or 3. So the rumor, the assumption was always that they would announce at least 1, probably 2 of those, I think, at this E3. So I think it's safe to say that this is one of them. That Fallout 76 is one of those big things, and that there is probably a chance we will see another. But what that is, I have no idea.
Cool.
Nothing in the Elder Scrolls sphere, the Skyrim sphere.
They've been really vocal about not having Elder Scrolls 6 come anytime soon. So if it was Elder Scrolls, it would have to be something like Fallout 76, where it's like a spin-off of some kind.
Sunday, June 10th. Moving on, I got to play Mega Man 11 last week.
Yeah.
Big Mega Man fan myself. 11 was announced in December, right at the very end of Mega Man's 30th anniversary. And they're going to be having it, they're going to be showing it off at E3, and the E3 demo was playable. So I got to run through the first 2 robot bosses that they are showcasing, Blockman and Fuse Man. And I was like, I thought it was totally fun, even though it's a very different look for Mega Man. It's more of an anime style, that kind of threw people off at first, but it feels like Mega Man, which is good news.
And the bosses and the monsters, they all look really cartoony and neat stuff.
yeah, they're like really well animated, have lots of personality.
Yeah, lots of personality. That's a good way to describe it, and I think that's like really important for Mega Man. I think all the games capture that, but you know, I've always really preferred the 8-bit ones,
Sure.
or the style of those
Pixelated
9
ones?
and 10, the pixelated ones
Yeah.
for sure.
Is that because you actually preferred, or because you remember
Well,
so fondly?
we've been talking about this a lot. I actually like them not just because of the aesthetic, but because of the speed of Mega Man. And I felt like once he got like bigger and more detailed stuff, he was just kind of clunky and slow. But according to Damon's preview, and that's been solved. And like Mega Man's a speedy little shooter now, which is really cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
I was
Yes.
actually
Important.
Go ahead.
I just saw a lot of reception of people saying that they didn't like the whole like 3D look of Mega Man, and it just
Yeah.
didn't seem to like fit in the whole like side-scrolling thing. And
It worked for me.
yeah.
And I've been embedded in a lot of Mega Man lately because the first two, the Legacy collections, are out on Switch. And I was playing a lot of both of them this weekend. And I don't know. So I think all of those games are really well done, especially the first 6 on the NES. But they're all very similar in terms of both look and quality, I think. And we've had 10 pixelated 8-bit style Mega Men. So after spending a lot of time with them, I feel like this new anime style on 11 is kind of refreshing. It's like,
Yeah, I don't like the Super Nintendo one very much, but I like the PlayStation one a lot.
that's like,
And
it's
that's
a
what
little bit
this
more
looks
advanced,
like.
but it's still pixel art. It's like fancy pixel art.
But the PlayStation one is super slow, but the design of it is like really pretty. Like the robots are huge, and they have like, you know, a lot of personality, like you're saying, and like they're really well thought out. Like, who would make this robot? It's really cute and it's deadly.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I love that theme of Mega Man.
maybe you can speak to this having actually played it, but from the trailers, it really looked like it like recreated what the original Mega Man line of games kind of feels like and looks like from a gameplay style standpoint, right? Like even just Mega Man to Mega Man X like has so many differences in the gameplay.
Sure.
Yeah, like wall climbing and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and it seems like Mega Man 11 is pretty true to that original kind of style.
It's like
Yeah.
3.
It definitely feels like classic Mega Man, although they have added 2 new powers that you have from the very beginning.
This is cool.
One they're like timed powers. One, you can activate more damage on your your buster,
Mega Buster.
your Mega Buster, and then the other one is you can slow down time. You can only use it for a certain amount of time, and then it's a cooldown period. But you have that from the very beginning of the game, which adds a few different strategic possibilities, especially for tricky platforming sections. And
Do you use it in the
love
boss battles and the robot
you can, yeah,
masters?
yeah, you totally can. Yeah.
It works
Yeah,
well.
'cause I remember one of the bosses you fought had like kind of a high up weak point.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like tricky to kind of jump and like hit it at the same time. So if you slow down time, you can kind of line up that shot a lot easier.
Yeah. Or like some enemies will like spin and have very specific weak points. If you can slow them down a little bit, it makes it easier to hit.
Yeah, that's great.
Sort of thing.
I think that's a really smart idea. And I always liked rewinding and manipulating time in any game. I like that in Braid. I like when I play like retro collections and can rewind. I think it's so super fun to do.
I mean, yeah, it's funny you
Yeah, you
mentioned
don't have
that.
to load a save.
That is a
Nice.
yeah.
that is a game changer in the Legacy collection. For
Or
Mega
only
Man.
1 through 6.
They didn't add it in Legacy 2?
Yeah,
Oh wow, that's interesting.
I know.
Yeah.
Don't you just feel like a dirty rotten cheater when you do?
No, I've played those games already, and now I
It's a
just want to.
feature.
I just
Tom.
want to. I just want to experience them again. I don't want to experience the frustration
Like,
again.
Tina's saving, like actually saving and loading. That's not fun necessarily. It takes a long time, and you obsess over it.
Yeah.
It's like putting
That's how you
another
play Fallout.
quarter in.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. It's a little bit
Taking a
clunky.
hit.
But
like-
the rewind is like a little bit faster, and you can kind of, and it feels like playing more. You know? It's just like this fun, like interactive thing where you're kind of see how all the things you just screwed up
Yeah.
go wrong, and you kind of avoid them. I think
Keeps
that's really
momentum going, and you probably learn a little bit easier
I
if
think
you're
so.
just like doing it and repetitively like that.
Cool. Yeah,
Since it's just a button press, it feels more like a game mechanic.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't in the original, obviously.
I mean, I think Fallout's main game mechanic is saving. That's like
Fallout's
the thing
game-
I think about and obsess over most when I play Fallout. Like shooting, yeah, you shoot some, you explore, it's really great, but you really have to focus on your saves.
Quick save, quick load.
Yeah. Man,
you-
I mean, think about just exploring a building in that game. You probably save 80 times while you're doing
Yeah.
it. You know? It's crazy. Like you do, that's
You
what
got to
spend
replace one of
your
the
time
face
doing.
buttons with just like the quick save, quick load.
That'd be cool. A PC probably has that.
Oh yeah, man. F5, F8.
all right.
There you go.
I have been really embedded in Mega Man recently, playing a lot of games and reading about Mega Man. I learned about Proto Man recently. Do you know much about Proto Man?
Yeah, he has a ponytail.
Got a great scarf.
Yeah, he's very fashionable.
I know his little song.
Yeah, he has a theme song.
How are you whistling without like actually whistling?
I
awesome.
pre-recorded that.
Thanks, Dan. No. Proto Man is obviously the prototype of Mega Man.
That's so sad.
Dr. Light made him first. But there's a flaw in his design where his like energy source which is supposed to last forever. Mega Man will live forever. His energy will never run out unless he like falls on spikes. But Proto Man was like faulty, and Dr. Light offered to repair that for him, but Proto Man refused because he was worried it would like alter his personality and his free will and his free thinking that he has. So he chose to just leave and go out on his own and wander the earth until his energy ran out. But Dr. Wily found him and said, as he was like dying on his deathbed, found him and said, I will repair your energy source, give you eternal life if you defeat Mega Man. And so he like does this deal with the devil. It's totally like a snake in the Garden of Eden.
But isn't Proto Man sometimes on your side?
That's the thing. It's like he doesn't really have any personal grudge against Mega Man. He just has this obligation to Dr. Wily. So that's why sometimes he tries to fight Mega Man and sometimes he helps him out.
Wily didn't give him like a time frame. He's just like, defeat Mega Man at some point.
Yeah.
Whenever.
Now,
Well,
did you
apparently-
explain the ponytail and all that?
He just has a ponytail.
Okay.
It's the story. He just chose to grow his hair out. But Dr. Wily did that before he made any Robot Masters. So it was when he was tinkering on Proto Man that he learned about Dr. Light's process for making the Robot Masters. And then he used that to build his own masters.
That's some deep lore.
Yeah. None of that is communicated in any of the games.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, where is that communicated? Is that
It's
like a
in,
comic book thing?
I was
It's
gonna
like
say game manual.
There's a Mega Man Complete Works.
Oh,
book that has
cool.
all this information.
All right.
All right. Over the weekend, I was in Hawaii and Tina was in Atlanta, Hot Atlanta, which is often
Yeah.
considered the Hawaii of the mainland.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've heard that.
Well,
There were
was
some palm trees where I was.
it muggy? Were there palm
It
trees?
was, it was very muggy. There were palm trees where I was because it's a downtown area, and I think they just like kind of designed it as
Yeah.
they were.
Hawaii confirmed.
But you know what? Yeah, no volcanoes though, so
that's
don't know.
that's a
Fingers
plus.
crossed.
part of it.
Not yet. You were there for MomoCon.
Yes.
What is MomoCon?
It's a convention in Atlanta, in downtown Atlanta, and it's basically like focused on anime and gaming and comics and a little bit of everything, but more so the anime spectrum. You see a lot of really amazing cosplay though, so that was cool to see everyone's like lit up LED equipped cosplay around. You know, the hour that I got outside of my hotel room
Yeah.
where I was playing many games.
Yeah, so you were there specifically to look at a bunch of indie games, is that right?
Yeah, so they do.
You didn't even go somewhere to do that? They gave them to you?
Yeah, well, I had to like I went into the convention center to meet some of the developers whose games we were playing, but it was all of like an hour, which I prefer. It was better that way because convention centers are crazy and packed and.
Well, luckily, you won't have to
claustrophobic.
go to a few conventions
Yeah, there's
for
not
a while.
one in a week and a half that I have to go to. But no, so we were there for myself and some other judges were there to judge the indie show that they put on, the Indie Game Awards show. And we were locked up in a hotel room, like actually physically locked, and for 2 days. And I
don't
played.
know if that's legal.
Yeah, I played 23 indie games altogether before we did like a big deliberation round, which was a lot of fun to argue with people on which games were.
You
good.
actually did that like a jury?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
Yeah, and you guys would be surprised how argumentative I got on a lot of stuff. So, but I got my way on a couple things, so that was good. We had 5 winners and then one Georgia-based winner because they like to give some shout out to their local developers.
Sure.
The Georgia-based winner was one of my favorites. It's called Twin Cop. And you play
Cop?
Twin Cop.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's in early access. So most of these games were either released or in early access, so playable. So Twin Cop, yeah, was one of my favorites, and it's you play as a like Frankenstein cop, and
Yes.
and like
Yes.
so you would play as like the left arm, and then your co-op partner would play as the right arm. And the beginning of the game, you're like, this is never gonna work. I don't know how this is gonna happen.
Like Octodad joins the police force.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and there's a lot of like goofy humor in it too, so it's very like similar to that. But yeah, you're like really struggling to find out how to move in sync with your partner. So like, and you can move your arm separately because you're like pointing and shooting with it. So
Yeah.
you can like move your arm to the back and like shoot behind you, and it doesn't really matter which way you're facing. But so it kind of works. And then eventually you get the hang of it, and there's a wheel around your character so you can see where your partner is angling. So at a point in time, my partner and I, who's Darren from Destructoid, like we would follow each other's arrows because we wanted to be respectful. And like, oh, you want to go left? Let me go left. And then we'll just switch. So it was very confusing and crazy. And at a point in time, you get in your Frankenstein car, and so you're controlling like the left axis, and then the other person's controlling the right axis of the vehicle. So you're just kind of like driving in a circle at a point until you can get in sync. It's just really goofy and hilarious.
Is it actually like horror themed too?
No, it's very up on the comedy, and it's kind of topical.
I mean, are you
maybe.
like a reanimated corpse?
Well, it's very like pixelated, the art, so you can't really see much, and it's a top-down view, so like, you really don't. I'm pretty sure it is, but everything is kind of like non-detailed. But it's great. I loved it. I had a lot of fun. We laughed a lot. At one point, you have to like disarm a bomb, and you have to take scissors to it. But of course, you're playing in unison, so one person has one side of the scissors, the other one has the other, and you're just like, oh wait, come on, I can't do it. It was super good.
Delightfully stupid.
Yeah, delightfully stupid in all the best ways. I played a bunch of other
It's
ones.
available
that I
now?
love.
In-
I think
or in
that one's
early
early
access?
access. Yeah. So pretty much all of these you can find on Steam. Some are also on mobile. Probably I don't imagine released yet. I also played the Norwood Suite, which I think has been out since 2017. But the way I described it is kind of like it's like a fever dream of a game. It's kind of like the exploration mystery of Gone Home meets some of the aesthetic of jazz punk. If you guys have played that. Yeah, and has like really cool jazzy music too. So I fell in love with it. But it's super weird. I can't even describe half of it because there's a piano player and he's like famous in this hotel, and you go to this hotel and you're learning about the piano player and you're talking to all this AI, and it's really interesting dialogue, very stylish. And you're just discovering about this piano player and like the weird history behind it and his disappearance and all these weird things. You're trying to get into a party, and then you get into a party and like stuff goes down and it's weird. And
Is it like a Telltale game? Is it that type of
you mean like no, because you're not
moving around?
picking dialogue, but it's like point and click dialogue heavy. But it's a lot of like exploration kind of puzzle elements. So at one point you make a sandwich.
And there's a mystery too.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you're not sure who this piano player is.
When you make the sandwich, does one player use one arm? And one
No, I wish, right? Although that'd be easy. You just slice one thing and slice the other.
You say that.
Yeah, you never know.
I really enjoyed that you're telling us about this crazy game, and you're like, the example you used is you make a sandwich. You know?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, doesn't it sound like?
Sounds like
for
Heavy
that
Rain.
one, I mean, they're two totally different games. And I think that's what's really cool about indie games is like they can focus on one aspect, like either the story or the art style, and you can really appreciate it for that. Because the Norwood Suite I actually finished, because most of the games you just play for a length of time that you get really familiar with it. For the Norwood Suite, I managed to finish it, and I just also really wanted to because I had some time towards the end, so I went back to it and finished the rest of the story. It's really sweet, short and sweet rather, but it's just so stylish and interesting, and you can like find these extra rooms that you manage to get your like these hidden rooms, trapdoor rooms kind of thing that you can find your way into, and you go through like a weird kind of feels like a Disneyland. What are those rides where you just sit in like a boat?
Just the
and,
experiential ones?
Yeah, exactly. It
Like
kinda
Storybook
feels like that.
Village?
Yeah, it feels like that,
Sorry.
but with jazz
That's
music.
Small World.
Yeah, but it's a small world. But yeah, it was so fun to just see all of these environments that Cosmodee, the developer, sat down and made and thought up because, like I said, it's like a fever dream. So it's just such a weird experience. And some of the music was like downright enjoyable. Like I would download it and listen to it.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
music themed.
Yeah.
Did that win like the grand prize or?
No, for the 5 winners, there was no like grand prize between them. We kind of presented them on par as one another, and then the Georgia-based one was just because local developer.
Did that win your grand prize?
I think Norwood Suite was like my number 1, and then my number 2 was Twin Cop, and then there was another that I played there was 2 that I played that like no one agreed with me on, which is fine because opinions. But one was a game that's out. It's called Biomed Inc., I believe. And it's a biomedical simulator. Yeah, Bio Inc. Redemption, that's what it's called. And you either save a patient or you kill them. So you're a doctor. It's kind of like Operation in a video game.
Yeah.
And so you see this patient, and you can name the patient whatever. So I named one patient Donald Trump, and like Donald Trump's head came up. So it does like cool little things like that. But you see the
Like
patient.
It knew.
Yeah.
It kind of.
I just typed in the name Donald Trump and it just registered the face. Yeah. And like you could do Obama and a couple other characters. Not everyone works, but yeah. So it just like animates it because otherwise it's just kind of like the skeletal frame and then the muscular frame because you can pick through the different features in the human body. And you gather cell points by, it's kind of like that part of the game is not the most fun, and I think that's why people didn't like it. The other judges didn't like it, but there's a biomap part of the game where if you click on there, you can see what symptoms your patient is experiencing. And frequently in the beginning, it's really vague, like like chronic pain and stress, like stuff that anybody might have. So you're trying to figure out, so you prescribe Tylenol or something, and then you're trying to figure out, okay, well, let me run an MRI and make sure like nothing's going on in this territory. Let me give them an X-ray or whatever it is. And then you have to like one by one through that, like it's kind of like a detective game. You have to figure out what kind of disease they have and cure it before they die.
And they always have one?
Of course, yeah. So there's the AI is like feeding symptoms, and you just have to figure out which one is which. And then you can play multiplayer, which is the most fun. So one person's trying to save the patient while the other one's trying to kill them.
Oh, you can actively try to poison people? Or
Oh yeah, you can play as like a terrible doctor too. So you can give them diseases and hope that on the AI side, the doctors in the emergency room aren't like figuring it out before you're able to. Yeah.
Wow.
Does that sound weird?
And then is it supposed to be realistic, or it's not like Surgeon Simulator that's all like goofy?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, the interesting thing is it's actually kind of informative because you have a list of those diseases in the biomap, and it gives you a bit of a description of it. And so partially that's to help you gameplay wise, so you can recognize like, oh, well, if I click on, I don't know, like a the UTI symptom, then I can see like, oh, pain and fever are popping up. So that means those are connected. So you can either like, help cure that or help cure the UTI, whatever it is. And they're all just really connected, and you learn a lot about them, and you learn about the treatments. And as far as I know, not that I'm a doctor, but they all seemed pretty accurate.
This sounds like the type of game where I'd play it and then I'd come away from it being like, I have all of these diseases. I'm dying right now.
It's the WebMD of games.
When you actively like try to hurt patients, it's because they have diabetes or something.
Yeah.
And so you like give them what they shouldn't have for diabetes. Like that's the idea.
Yeah. Well, there is a section where you can do other factors too. So there's like risk factors. So you can have someone exercise more, and you can like feed points. No, I don't think so. I think that's like on the helping them as a good doctor side.
How do you hurt them? I still don't understand.
You can give them like hereditary issues. Like before the game starts, you can invest certain points so that, or you can like already start off the game with them being obese. So it kind of like heightens other factors that you're dealing with.
So it's not like Mega Man where you just find the weapon.
Yeah.
Not like Mega Man.
You find the weakness.
Yeah, you kill people
find the
from
boss
the inside out.
Okay.
That should be our new rating scale at IGN. Mega Man or not,
not
like
Mega
Man.
Man. That's all the rating skill I need. Cool. So it's Twin Cop, Norwood.
The Norwood Suite.
The Norwood Suite and Bio Inc. Redemption.
Yeah, and then there were a couple other ones that I really liked too, but we don't have time for that.
If you want to throw out some names, recommendations.
So one was called Super Daryl Deluxe, and that reminded me of I forget the name of this movie all the time. What's the weird movie? And he makes a joke about a llama, and he's combines dinner and lunch into dinner. This is legitimately how I remember.
A Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes, thank you.
Wow,
yes. I know.
Was,
I'm so glad you got that.
Clues.
A game called Mike Dies. Have you guys heard of that one?
What's it called?
Mike Dies. It's like a Metroidvania kind of game, and there's like teleportation features, but it's cool because I really like the music and the characters and stuff, and the voice acting is kind of extreme, over the top, but in a way that I just found enjoyable. And then we gave awards to Door Kickers and Epic Tavern.
Those are both good titles.
Yeah, those are good
Door
titles.
Kickers is a good game too.
Yeah, so this is the like second game. It's Door Kickers something squad, where you play. You play as two people. Door Kickers action squad.
Yeah.
So
That's
you
fun.
can play as two people rather. Yeah.
Door Kickers and Dork Kickers sound very similar.
Yeah, I hope
It could also both be really fun.
Don't kick dorks.
So that's what Super Daryl
avoid
Deluxe is, just a group of dorks.
Okay.
And they get like certain powers.
Did you say Epic Tavern?
Tavern, yeah.
Also
Is
sounds
that about
like
serving
a-
drinks?
Actually, yeah. I mean, that's part of it. So it's kind of like a football manager thing because you have your squad
Yeah.
and you can recruit squad members. I know you weren't expecting that, right?
No. no, continue though, please.
Yeah, so it has like three fundamental aspects to the game. One is just you're in your pub and you run your pub and you have
It's
your
like
tavern.
a fantasy pub?
Yeah, so it's just a bunch of like
Dude,
orcs
I am
and
so into
elves and
this.
stuff. Yeah. And then
Sounds
you
great.
you can recruit some people from your tavern, but mostly like when you're in your tavern, you're getting to know them. So you're like creating familiarization and creating like a friendship bond with a lot of them. And if you create your friendship bond, I think it helps you in quests. They're still like formulating a lot of stuff because this one's definitely early access. And you serve them food, and sometimes you can do like a chain combo. So one person really enjoys their food, someone else wants to order food, and the chances, like there's percentage chances. Everything is on
They
a
should
roll.
pair up and get the license for the podcast Hello from the Magic Tavern, which is about a fantasy tavern.
Yeah, do
That'd be so good.
Yeah. But then you
very
take them out
appealing to
onto
me.
quests and you go on battles and everything's on a roll.
Is there mead?
There is,
Huzzah!
I mean, and there's elven wine, and I think you can serve
elven wine.
rat
Fancy.
BBQ. Yeah, you can serve rat BBQ.
Rat barbecue.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Those dungeon
popular
rats
in my
get pretty big
tavern.
though. I bet they'd be fine to eat.
So that's what you do. You go to
What's rat meat called? Wild Game Scoop,
Yeah,
episode 2.
that's right.
Wow, we found ourselves in another wild.
We could
game
make
scoop.
it up. I don't think anybody's ever invented what rat meat's called.
We could
Rat
make it up right
meat.
now. I mean, the game just calls it rat BBQ.
Rat BBQ.
Yeah. So, but you go on a quest and you kill rats, and then because you kill those rats, then you can order rat meat.
So we could go with something like beef or veal. So it'd be like reef.
Reef.
That sounds like
Or
something
real.
from the sea, though.
Yeah, that's too sea like. Real?
We're gonna need to
Then you
workshop.
have
With an A?
like fake real, and it would be very weird.
Yeah. We're gonna need to
just gotta
workshop
spell it differently.
rat meat.
Okay.
Don't have a good
On the to-do list.
Okay.
number one
The next
priority.
Wild Game Scoop. But first,
All right, let's check in with the listeners.
hey listeners.
Thank you. Listeners, remember you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like Katie in Brooklyn, New York did.
Ooh, New York.
Katie says, I need your advice on game storage, Omega Cops. I am from Brooklyn, New York, born and raised, and as many of you may know, apartments here are very tiny. I'm doing some late spring cleaning, and I'm trying to throw out as much material items as I can part with. Most things are easy for me to toss out, but I'm at a bit of a crossroads with my old PS3 and PS2 games. They take up a considerable amount of shelf space and have not been touched in years. I often hear you all lament over systems and games you wish you had never parted ways with, or returned to childhood homes to find they were gone. I fortunately have a gamer father who has never thrown out our Nintendo, Genesis, Sega CD, Dreamcast, or PS1.
That's extremely cool.
Having not yet felt this loss, I would love your advice as to how I should handle my own games. Should I gift them to the library? Should I save them in a storage facility? Should I try to sell them for $20? Thanks in advance. Katie in Brooklyn. Yeah.
I'd say keep them. I mean, the storage is a big question.
Yeah.
If you're talking PS2 and like CDs and that sort of thing, it's easy enough to get like those kind of CD binders that are.
Don't
like,
do that. No.
Why not?
No. I'm not even going to entertain.
Whoa!
Not even
Wait, is this the
entertain it.
games or the consoles?
Well, I think she's asking
Everything?
about the game specifically, but yeah, we can
I
address it
do
all.
that.
Yeah,
I
do
do
that.
Why not?
So, well, I got this really cute one on Amazon that makes it look like a fantasy book.
Yes.
And so it's like
Fantasy book,
Yeah, it's just like it's like a leather bound thing with gold gold designs
That
on
sounds
it.
pretty
And
nice,
it doesn't,
Sam.
yeah, and it doesn't look like a CD binder.
So is
which
this
is
is this a conservation issue or like a damaging them issue? What's your
Yeah, you know how excruciating it is that like nobody in the United States kept their game boxes for NES games or for Super Nintendo games.
Oh,
or
so
anything?
okay. I see
Everybody
what
threw
the
them
confusion
away.
is.
Now it's so hard to find boxes and instruction manuals and all the stuff that came with them.
I didn't expect you to get this fired up about this.
Well, I'm a
Yeah.
collector.
Well, so a lot of what I did is put the CDs into these binders, keep those binders where with the console itself in my living room, kind of in my entertainment system or setup, and then have all the boxes in cardboard boxes in storage somewhere, right? Like, because I didn't want to just
Yeah,
throw
I mean,
them
you
out.
have it both ways in that sense. Yeah.
Right,
They're more
yeah.
accessible. Do you throw away your boxes?
So also
is a
having
yes.
been born and raised in New York, my suggestion to a fellow New Yorker is do your parents still live there? Because that's
Yeah,
what
she
I
does have
did.
this gamer dad.
Yeah.
Drop off those boxes.
Yeah, my parents just shoved them because I initially said just throw them out, and then my parents were like, "Wait, are you sure? Maybe they'll be worth something one day." Because my parents know nothing about video games, but I figured, like, I don't know, I had this moment of hesitation. I was like, "Well, we have an attic. Just put it in the attic. It's not doing anything else."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I have
what they're there for.
attic-like spaces in my house that I keep all of my old game stuff in. That same way.
But do you ever like go back to
Probably
them?
rats in there.
Rat BBQ.
Good source of meat.
Yeah, exactly. You just gotta go.
But
on
what is
quest.
that meat called?
But yeah, do you ever go and actually like fish them
It's
out?
so hard to do it. It's
Yeah.
like I have this it's like an attic type space, so it's like, you have to basically crawl space like to the stuff. It's completely stupid. No, it's idiotic.
I'm glad you.
But
But I
you do
didn't
it.
separate the discs from the manuals or the boxes, which is just so bad to do. You can do that for convenience. That's fine.
I use my manuals as Tinder actually to start barbecue grill.
Yeah. To
Rat
roast that
barbecue.
rat meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't actually play old games from like the last 20 years anyway, though. So that's what's confusing is like I am saving like my Wii games, like I have a really great Wii. I'm never going to I don't even have my Wii hooked up. And I don't even have my Wii U hooked up anymore. But I have a Super Nintendo and a few other things hooked up from past eras. And I keep those games in my living room like displayed nicely. So, yeah.
Maybe we'll get a Wii Classic one day. You won't even need them.
That's the problem, right? Is that like I don't know if there'll be a super easy way to play Xbox 360 games in the future, but
Backwards
or if I'd
compatibility.
even want to, because maybe there'll be really nice HD versions of everything.
So how do you feel about digital games as a collector?
We talk about this sometimes on this show. It's really cool to have like a Wii with like every single virtual console game on it. That's really neat. But the fact that they just evaporate into space afterwards is really sad. Oh, are you saying like would I download games versus collecting them?
Versus physical copies, since
You got to
like
pick your
those
battles,
boxes
right? Like
and
you
those-
got to say like, hey, I'm gonna really get every single Switch game in a hard copy, and really think about that, and really go for that. And you probably want to do that 10 years after the system's popular when it's really cheap. So it's hardly an issue when you're playing games and contemporarily thinking about collections. But
So how complete is your NES library?
so I have about 400 NES games uniquely, and then a bunch of doubles of those, the rare ones, stuff like that. And then there's about 300 I don't care about, and then there's about 6 I really want badly, like Little Samson.
Little Samson. I was gonna say. What's an example of a game you don't care about on an NES game?
There's about 40 baseball games I don't care about.
Okay. What?
But you own them?
No,
Oh, okay.
I collect on irony, rarity, and quality.
Irony,
There's a lot of
that's-
really funny games.
I like in that order.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really funny games that I think will also be rare at some point. Those cross over a lot.
So you might not be interested in a Bases Loaded,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever the what's the Base Wars? You definitely have that one.
I like Base Wars, yeah. And Dusty Diamond's All Star Softball is a very collectible, rare NES game. Really fun. You play as monsters. We can just keep talking about this. If you don't stop,
If we're
me,
gonna talk
I'm not
baseball
gonna
games,
stop.
we gotta get Ryan out here.
Yeah, Katie, as someone who also doesn't like having just a lot of clutter in their house, but also feels bad that I did get rid of a bunch of my old games and systems. I wish I'd hung on to them. I would urge you to try and figure out some way to hold on to those games if it is dropping them off your parents.
Ask your parents.
Yeah.
It's delightful to store old magazines and games out of sight and then pull them out again. I do.
Yeah,
have,
every
like,
now and then,
I do
like-
find a box of Nintendo Powers like at my parents' house. I'm like, oh, they're so cool, And like I would also collect those now if I bought, but they're the ones I had when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
like I have direct memories to them.
I guess you can keep them while also resisting the temptation to keep them nearby, right?
Yeah.
If you can put them somewhere that you don't have to think about them and don't have to deal with them
have
on a
to see
daily
them.
basis. Exactly.
All right, this is Patrick in Winchester, Kentucky. He says, I'm a longtime gamer. I have 12-year-old triplets who I have raised right, and they love playing the Switch and Xbox One, as well as many classic games for the NES and Super NES classic consoles. The problem is, I've maybe raised them too well, and I rarely get any time on my Xbox anymore because they do a great job rotating their time on it so each has time for Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite, and Overwatch. Recently, when my wife heard that the Insane Trilogy was coming to Xbox, Crash Bandicoot, she got excited and mentioned that maybe we need a second Xbox for us to play in the living room while the kids are playing my console in the nerd lair. She used to love playing the Crash games with me, and it would be awesome to have that experience again. So my question is this: should I invest in another Xbox at this point? With Sony announcing the end times for the PS4, should I invest in an Xbox One X at this point, or should I save my money? I have thought about a PS4, but I have such a backlog of Xbox games I already own, it would just go unused. Also, with E3 approaching, do you see a price drop for that system on the horizon? Thank you all for any insight you can give.
So bring up their bedtime a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Pear has 3 kids, and he buys multiple consoles every time because he knows he will not get to play the systems because his
Yeah.
kids will occupy them.
Yeah, I hear
think-
that from a lot of gamer dads.
Yeah.
It's the only way to go.
Yeah, I think each of Pear's kids has their own Switch.
Yes, exactly.
And now, in terms of, I don't think it's too late to buy an Xbox One X at this point.
I think
There are years left in this console generation.
all the stuff about Sony and the PlayStation reaching the end of its life or whatever that quote was, I think is very overblown.
Little Chicken Little.
Yeah, I think that probably my gut tells me we're not going to see even another announcement for a new generation of systems for a year, 2 years at the very earliest, I think. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't think it's... I just bought a PS4 Pro. I did not have an Xbox One or a PS4, and I just bought my first PS4 2 months ago for God of War. And I'm not really nervous about it suddenly getting obsoleted or anything like that. I think if you want to be playing a thing and you have the means to do it and it's what you want, then you should just go for it and not worry about future proofing. That's a thing that people do in PC gaming all the time, right? Of like, oh, I need to spend the extra $400 on this better graphics card so that my computer is future proofed. And it's like, no, just
Future proof.
just buy the thing you can afford and play the games you want and worry about that stuff later.
Yeah. But if you don't have a 4K TV, you could even save some cash by getting an Xbox One S. Let the kids play that with that one, and then you could reclaim your Xbox.
Ooh.
It's like flying first class when you have your kids in economy.
Oh, I'll totally do that. That'll be fun.
Or here's a trick I used to pull on my parents. I got my PS3 in high school because I told my parents that they wanted a Blu-ray player.
You told them they wanted one.
Yeah, well, they did want a Blu-ray player. And I said, well, I want this PlayStation 3. So what if I pay for half of it and you pay for the other half? So what if you tell your kids, here's what we'll do. You pay for half of this Xbox One S, and then I'll pay for the other half. You guys get the One S, and then you get a half-price Xbox.
I hope you got your PS3 at launch, so your parents paid $300.
Oh, I did.
Oh, my God.
Where are these 12-year-olds going to get the money?
That's a good point. I figured there were chores or
Newspaper.
something.
Are you
Delivery.
implying that they dress up in some sort of man suit and a trench coat and then get a job?
Very tall
I
man.
wasn't, but now I am.
They're just gonna go on Patreon. This is 2018.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, maybe it's just big YouTube bucks.
That's true. And finally, this is Josh in San Diego. He says, back in the fall of 2017, I was playing my 2DS at work before my shift started. One of the higher-up managers saw me and said, I can't believe you have a Game Boy, with the tone saying I'm the biggest nerd in the world. Last week, while on my lunch, a guy was telling me he was interested in buying a Switch. So for the first time ever, I pulled off the Joy-Cons, put the system into tabletop mode, and like a Nintendo commercial, I asked him if he wanted to try playing Mario Kart with me. A group of young grandma-aged women pointed and laughed at us, not trying to hide it at all. They got laughed at by young grandmas. Have you guys ever been judged for playing your handheld systems in public?
Maybe they're laughing because he was bad at Mario Kart.
Yeah, maybe that's
His friend, not the writer.
who the grandmas?
Yeah.
Or maybe they didn't know it was a Switch and they thought it was a TV, and they're like, "Ha, look at that guy with that tiny TV."
Maybe they weren't shaming as maybe they were just saying like, that looks so fun.
Yeah, you really never know.
If I've ever been shamed or judged, it was not to my knowledge. They were doing it stealthily. So but I do play my Switch like everywhere I go out in public. I don't never try to hide that.
I just get a lot of disbelief.
Yeah.
Like, really? You play games? It's like, yeah. Turns out.
Like for specific modern when you're playing games or when you're
Well, actually, the last reaction I got to playing my Switch in public was because I feel like I don't get a lot of reaction. People just like mind their own business.
Yeah.
But the last reaction I got to playing my Switch was around GDC the year that it came out. And I think was that before? I can't remember exactly, but was GDC like before it officially came out, or was it after? Do you guys remember?
GDC was right after it because GDC
that
was
week or
mid-March
something.
and
So it
March
was like
1st or
launch.
2nd or 3rd.
Yeah, so it was out, but not many people had it maybe. And I was flying back from San Francisco to New York where I lived at the time. And the people on the plane next to me were also coming back from GDC, and they were super excited that it was there. And they're like, oh, what are you playing? And I just like showed them a bunch of features, and I took the Joy-Cons in and out. So that was like but that's a rare, you're in the gaming community realm kind of.
Yeah.
No, I think I've actually had more experiences like that than
Yeah.
I've never had someone just openly laugh at me before.
Who does
And
that?
honestly,
Young grandmas, apparently.
yeah, those notorious young grandmas, man, they go after people.
They're a menace.
I've had more experiences because I take the train to and from work every day. I'm on the train for an hour and a half every single work day. And
You bring your rig, right?
yeah, well, I bring the computer, the keyboard. It's a little clunky, but
On wheels.
people scoot over. They get it.
Remember when people
So
I'm known
understanding.
now.
Remember the Wii U on the train thing where you'd plug in the whole console and then you'd chain the Wii U to the screen and switch to that screen you could play.
Oh, as you mean, as like a
there was
conceptual
like pictures
thing.
right when it came out
Yeah.
of like on a Japanese commuter train, like someone
Right.
playing it, fully plugged into the wall.
Yeah, man, the Wii U, I used to love that thing, and now I look back and I'm like, wow, okay. Anyway, I get a lot more people who see it and then notice that I'm like wearing a BlizzCon bag or like a Bethesda shirt or something like that, and then strike up a conversation. I had a conversation with somebody about Overwatch literally yesterday on the train, and I like those moments. I occasionally I'll get people giving me like side eye looking at me while I'm playing stuff, but it's not really like I never
Just
take
curiosity.
this judgmental.
Curiosity.
I mean, I also wear a bow tie, so like I figure people
It could be
staring at me
anything
is,
with
like
you,
it's a
Tom.
lot of different stuff, right? Like, and so
I feel the
yeah,
same way.
my opinion is if they're doing that, then they're not a person you want to deal with anyway. If they're gonna just like laugh at you openly,
bullying.
like whatever.
I can't think of a time like, when I had a Game Boy when I was a kid or something where the Game Boy was always really cool. Like even the Game Boy Advance, like my little sister got a Game Boy Advance and I couldn't believe it because she was like a really cool little kid and like, she liked all these different things and then all her friends got into Game Boy suddenly. And I was like, oh, I guess this is just cool again. I think that was always like, I can't think of a time in which like the handheld system that was vogue at the time was like unpopular in some way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember even when the DS came out and I would like be playing it on a plane, people would be like curious about because they would see the stylus and maybe I'd be playing Sudoku and Brain Age and they're like,
blew
what
it
is
up
that?
with
What is that?
mean grandmothers.
But also just from a like technology perspective, like people love gadgets, so I think
Yeah.
that they're curious about it from there. But like the train comment that you had, Tom, like when I was taking the subway in New York all the time, I got a lot of like leering over your shoulder to see what you're playing or if you're watching it because I saw a lot of people on their phones or on their iPads watching things, and people get bored on the train. So they like to like look over your shoulder.
One
Got
time-
a lot of that.
One time I had to stand on the train, and the guy sitting
Only
next to me-
one time?
I
What is your commute?
I go early, okay. And Caltrain is way different than BART. BART is the worst. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm sorry. But I had to stand next to a guy who was playing Celeste, and this was after I had done the review for Celeste. And I was just kind of watching him do the B-side at Chapter 7, and like every time he got through a level that he was like dying on, like I was just like quietly rooting for him the entire time. It was nice. It was a good moment.
Yeah, on the flip side, I always love watching people play games on the subway, and I'm
gosh,
so curious what they're playing.
Yeah.
And then I want to go and be like, so what websites do you read? IGN.com?
Yeah, that, and then it's when you do see somebody surprising, like it's just like somebody older, somebody like playing like a game that you recognize. You're like, oh, that's really cool. I always think that's cool.
I saw one of my favorite moments on the subway. I was just like eavesdropping on this conversation because this young woman and this young man were bonding over the game she was playing. And I totally don't remember what it was, but it was on a 3DS. And he was like, "Oh, have you like played this game?" And then they started talking about anime. Like, "Have you seen that anime?" And by the end, he like asked her out, and she politely.
What?
Yeah, well, it was very polite. It was like,
Escalated
"Oh,
quickly.
do you mind like giving me your number so we can continue this conversation," kind of thing. It was an appropriate way. He was very sweet, and she was very sweet. But then she was like, she politely declined and said she had a boyfriend, and
Okay.
who knows if that was one of those tactics, but
Yeah.
but it was cute to see this like
Wow, I
conversation.
can't believe you saw that whole
burgeoning.
thing. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that's
I
very
live
that's
tweeted
very
it.
TV.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
The last time I felt shame for playing a game in public was absolutely Pokemon Go, and I remember like
Yeah.
being.
But everyone was playing Pokemon Go.
But it was cool for like a week, and that's it.
Well, that's rude.
It was cool for a week.
Yeah, but Let's Go
Not
Eevee.
for me, from the
One hot
people. The
week.
people
I
have
see.
said.
Yeah. The
Once Let's
public.
Go Eevee comes out, it'll be hot for a week more. And
I kept. Okay, I'll talk about that in a second. But when I saw it was when you would walk up to a place to get Pokemon, and there was a bunch of other people doing it.
Yeah.
That was
Right.
when an embarrassment set in. I didn't feel like a sense of camaraderie because everybody was like this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
And
you
people
walk past
knew.
people doing the motion,
Yep.
and if you're not doing it at the same time, you're like "Pfft, dorks. And then you just-
I think the problem with Pokemon Go was also so the reason why it was like cool for a week because everyone was really excited, everyone was going out and like, "Oh man, you're here too for the same thing." And I actually remember conversations, like quick conversations happening in New York, where people were like, "Oh yeah, what'd you catch?" Like that kind of cute little bonding moments.
Yeah.
But right after, when stories started to come out about people like walking off of cliffs, and did you guys hear about that one story where a guy's house was accidentally designated as a raid area, and so people would show up in the middle of the night in front of his house, and he had no idea why, and they would just be standing in front of his house, everyone looking at their phones, like that must be terrifying. But yeah, it became less cool after that because there was all these associations. I think.
Didn't Andrew walk off a pier?
Yeah, he hurt himself pretty bad.
Oh,
Oh man.
Hurt his leg, yeah.
that's the sadder side of the story that I had not heard yet.
Yeah.
You were like
dark
totally
side of
prepared to laugh at
Pokemon
him
Go.
until then.
I had in the past. He knows I have.
What I've seen that was kind of bumming me out about Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu is that some people in my timeline, more than one, were saying, "I can't wait for this to come out. I'm so excited to go back
They didn't
out and start
realize it's a
catching
Switch
Pokemon
game.
again." And like talking about it as if it was like a sequel to Pokemon Go, which
Right.
it kind of is, but it's like you're going to be in front of your television, or it's not going to be that much different. You don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think people really understand that, which is too bad. Yeah, man, Pokemon Go. Like that is the exact phenomenon which you saw people and you knew what they were doing, playing a video game that you understood. Like that's probably the only time that's ever really happened since like Game Boy Tetris. You know,
Magic the Gathering.
all those people are playing Tetris. You could tell. Funny.
All right, and that brings us to Video Game 20 Questions. Our suggestion this week comes from Guy. That's all the information we have.
Well,
I gotta bail, guys.
All right?
third
I'm leaving
fighter.
it to you two.
Oh, man. This is
Have
hopeless.
You have
meetings.
to send somebody in.
Oh yeah, should I grab someone?
Yeah, pick
Okay.
someone.
Okay, at random.
Yeah,
All right,
pick someone
cool.
in. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with a mystery guest. Here comes a new challenger. Brian Altano joins us for Video Game 20 Questions. And Brian, our suggestion comes from Guy.
Hi, Guy.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
We don't know where he is. We don't know if,
Well, you have Hagar,
yeah.
you have
Cody.
and you have Guy.
Yeah. This one's from Guy.
Okay.
So let the questioning begin.
Can you see your feet in this game?
Yes.
Wow. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Yeah. I think we got this.
Such a good one.
Yeah.
You said that yesterday, and I was like, man, that's such a great question.
Yeah.
You guys played 20 questions yesterday?
No, it was just about something else.
You do always ask that?
We started our own pirate network of 20 questions out of the editorial. We're taking down Game Scoop. One question at a time.
One
you just
question
asked
per
one
episode,
question per
actually. Yeah.
Was this game available on a disc-based medium? Like laser red disc?
Wow.
I don't think so. If there were, it was some sort of special edition.
Okay.
This was a classic, right? Because I'm still relatively new to this, but does your character wear a hat or helmet?
I don't think so.
It's not a classic.
I don't know the rules.
So do we know this was a cartridge game or a digital only game? That's basically don't. That's not a question because you said the disc thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So that means it had to
Digital or cartridge?
It either existed in physical media or
Yes, you
never.
could just ask that.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to.
Okay.
I got enough information right back there.
You read between the lines.
It's a secret question.
Was this game available on cartridge?
No.
So
Well,
What?
Okay, hold on. In this game's initial release, it was not. But like I said, if it got a physical release, it would have been a special edition, in which case it could have been on a cartridge.
Okay, so I
I'm
feel like
so confused.
But the most important thing is that, okay, in this game's initial release, it was not on a cartridge or a disc.
okay, so I think this is like one of those
Well,
like.
what do you mean a special edition could have been a cartridge?
Okay, so this is like one of those Explosion Man type things that then maybe like put on Unlimited Run later on.
Right.
Maybe it's just Mega Man 9.
Well, that one's so well that there was a cartridge for that, but it didn't have the game on. it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's so specific.
Unless,
I'm just saying, like, is he implying that it could run on an old system?
well, digital also could mean like arcade, right? If it's not cartridge or CD based, it could still be like an arcade machine or like.
Well, no, because aren't most arcades.
It's like a big arcade board. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what his answer would have been, but I think this is just a digital
It's
game.
probably just a digital
Okay,
game.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We're overthinking it.
Okay.
Is this part of a series?
No. That's
Oh.
5.
Oh, that's harder.
We should nail down the era and console and stuff like that.
It sounds like it's after
Hats and
2000,
feet
no
are
matter
great,
what.
but
Yeah.
Hats and feet are great.
Was this game made
I think
in?
we just learned a lot about
was it?
Brian's fetishes. I'm a hat and feet man.
hell yeah, I got a porn site to go straight to the hat section. Big fan of hats.
So yeah, what was it released in the last 10 years? What's a good number?
This is
I'm
your
looking at
game.
you. Okay,
no,
fine.
if we're gonna lose this probably, and I'm gonna blame it on you.
That's fair.
Ask whatever you want.
100% fair. Was it released in the last 10 years? Initial.
Yes. Yes.
Oh man, okay. That's
So
not,
maybe it's like no, Hotline Miami has a sequel. I'm thinking it might be like a Shovel Knight type game where it's like it has 8-bit qualities.
Shovel Knight.
Is this a pixel art game?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Also, Shovel Knight's like part of a series, technically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say that.
I have a really dumb question. I'm not going to ask it just because Sam's got me nervous now.
I'm not question shaming you. I'm just asking you to pump the brakes a little bit and think non-classically.
Okay.
Should we find out? If, you,
What is
you go.
this cartridge special edition?
What? Of what?
See, Damon screwed up.
I
Something
didn't
got
screw up.
screwed up here.
I didn't throw
No,
it.
he's going to regret it.
Okay. Well, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, how could it come out on a cartridge as a special edition?
Well, because like there's that whole company, Limited Run Games, that
I know,
puts-
but wouldn't it have to play on a system that has pixelated graphics?
yeah.
I mean, just cartridge.
Wait. Did you
but
ask the era question? It's after 2000.
It's
from the last
10
10
years.
years,
Last 10 years, yeah.
which goes back to 2008 ish.
So I think the cartridge thing could be implying Switch is what's going on. It could be get a Switch port.
Oh, like carts
Right.
and cards.
Yeah.
Oh, drats.
Now I got it. Okay. All right. So something that could get a reissue on a Switch. Now
Okay.
we can focus on.
Doesn't cart really literally stand for cartridge? Isn't that just a short version of it?
I think we're really in the weeds on this. Yeah.
Hey, was this a
okay.
console exclusive?
No.
Okay. Was it developed in Japan?
No.
How many questions is that? 9,
9?
9.
Western game, no series, last 10 years, likely released digitally.
See the feet, see the hat.
See the feet, see the hat, but probably
No, I
not
said-
wearing a hat.
Yeah, probably not wearing a hat.
Probably
I don't,
not
I
wearing.
don't think you wear a hat.
Oh, you don't think. What if you do?
Well, now I'm wrong.
It happens.
At least he's honest.
Okay. Is this a side-scrolling game?
No. That's 10.
Okay.
Does this have realistic graphics?
It's on the spectrum. It's closer to realistic than like pixelated, but not fully realistic.
Is it multiplayer?
No.
Wow. Okay, because I was going towards Fortnite for a second there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
just a big single-player multi-platform game, but somehow digitally distributed.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a? Do you only control one character?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Oh, we're running out of
So
questions.
it's not like RPG or party based or any of that stuff.
I guess not.
All right. I mean, it could be an RPG, just not party
Yeah.
based.
Did it
not
get?
side scrolling?
Should we ask about?
Is that-
It's so hard to narrow it down now.
Yeah.
We could ask about like whether it was critically received, and I still don't know what generation of systems it's for.
Yeah.
As if that would matter.
Mm-mm. We only know the last 10 years.
Oh man.
Who's producing this episode?
Dan.
Dan, what do you got?
Okay.
This is like really.
That's
There's
fair.
not much get to go on right now, is there?
Did people like it?
Yeah, was it well received?
Yes.
Oh.
Cool.
And they never made another one?
Yeah, it's weird. Huh?
Weird. That never happens. They always make like 10 of something that people like once.
Sometimes there's like spin-offs subsequently, like with the Journey developers just make
Yeah.
different games, you know.
Mm.
I don't know if
Oh.
Journey's a good one, but it's not
Well, it could also be something like
Multiplayer. though.
realistic.
It's close. Yeah, I guess that would be the opposite of if this is approaching realism.
But is something like Firewatch approaching realism?
Mhm.
Gone Home approaching realism? Like that's
I mean, I guess
probably
those are
more on.
cell shady though. Right?
Yeah, yeah, but they're
Yeah.
closer to realistic than they are pixel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Could also do something like
We could get genre down if we needed to, but it's just we have so few questions. You know, we would have to really nail it. And like otherwise, I'd ask about Walking Simulator. Although nothing really indicates that. I mean, all we know is you can see your feet and you probably don't have a hat.
You could try.
probably is you don't see your head, so
Take
that
a
would
shot.
imply it's first person. We don't know.
Is this a what would you say like on a walking like an adventure game like that?
Walking
Well,
Simulator.
does Walking Simulator contain adventure game?
Yeah,
This is a whole philosophical debate that
I
is
think
outside of the 20 questions.
I think so.
Okay, then
So yeah, is
Yeah.
this a
An adventure game.
oh
Or no, is this a walking simulator?
Yes.
oh
okay,
Very,
okay.
very nice.
Okay.
15.
okay, so
Okay.
we have 5 questions now, and there's only been 50,000 walking simulators. So
There hasn't been that many.
So-
it's Gone
okay,
Home
so
or
there's,
Firewatch.
Well received.
Firewatch.
You can do Firewatch. You could do Gone Home. You could do
what was the other one?
Beginner's Guide. You could do Stanley Parable.
and it can't be oxen free because of the graphics.
Right.
Yeah, and also
'cause it's not
that's a side-scrolling.
Yeah,
what
yeah,
about
yeah.
the Edith Finch game?
It could be
and-
Edith Finch.
there's also
I don't know which ones of those you see your feet in, because I know Stanley Parable. I don't think you see your feet.
What about hats?
Right?
I don't even remember if you see the feet in Gone Home.
Man,
Probably not.
What's
What's the other
could
one?
be Tacoma.
how about this? We could ask if you play as a female protagonist.
That's a good one. Do it.
Do you play as a lady?
No.
Okay, so that narrows down 2 of them.
Firewatch. Making Firewatch.
Could be.
What's the other one? Is it What Remains of No? Not no. What's the other one from like 2 years ago where you're like in that field? You're in that town where everyone's gone?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's where people are have been
Like disappeared.
disappeared.
Oh, the Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. What Remains of Edith Finch, Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
Yeah, they're very long names and very artsy, good games.
I think it's Firewatch though.
That's man, that was my original gut thing, but we can
You
ask
have
more
those
on that.
big Wreck-It Ralph hands in it, which is what's confusing. So how do we narrow down? Between that and then maybe even knock out some others at the same time.
Well, I was gonna say
are
like
they all about murder?
a lot of them are about people disappearing, whether that's through murder or through magic
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
spells and such.
I guess we could ask if it was developed like in San Francisco or something like that.
That's. You might as well ask if you watch Fire in it.
All right. You wanna ask that?
Do you watch Fire in it?
I have not actually played this game.
Okay.
I'm aware of it.
Should I reword the question?
But I can't answer that one.
Is this about working in a national forest?
Yes.
Haha.
All right.
The Stanley Parable.
Hey, we got it.
Is it Firewatch?
It is Firewatch.
Yes!
Nicely done.
Wow!
Man, the walking simulator twist. That was really
Oh,
crazy how that
man.
came together with all three of us.
Good work, everyone.
Yeah.
Brian pushed for it and we got it.
Oh my God.
Man.
Yeah.
I feel really good about that victory. That was good.
There's
Yeah.
no way we should have gotten that.
So
Go check
20
out some
released in
hats.
2016, but it's on Switch, and I didn't know if there was like a physical.
Yeah, there might be.
It was downloadable game on PS4, Xbox, and PC. If there was a retail version for Switch, it would be on cart. That's why.
Is that
I
good?
didn't-
Did we have a
No, I
couple-
didn't we didn't put it together until you said
We had a
it.
couple
Yeah, that was
questions left, right?
Yeah, you can.
it. What do you
So
want to
Sam,
use?
if we had lost, you would have. Yeah. This is what I want to ask. If we had lost, you would have blamed me. But since we won, I don't get
I
the
would have
credit.
never blamed you.
Even
That's
though
not
I
how
said
20
Firewatch.
questions
All
work.
right. No. I'm just trying to get the
You
rules here.
always
That's
blame
all.
Damon. Always.
Okay.
I'm on your guys' side. It's Guy. Guy is the one who
Oh,
we're
okay.
again.
You
Way
always
to go,
blame
guy.
the listeners.
What a guy.
That was
Hey,
awesome.
listeners.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Hey, listen.
Yeah, that was good. Kind of a cartoony art style.
Yeah.
But not a fully realistic, but
No, that was good.
Would you consider playing it if it was on Switch?
it is on Switch.
Well, what?
So clearly, no.
All right.
Is
There's
the
just
answer to
too many
that.
other things to play. I've been playing Curse of the Moon. It's so good. Brian, what have you been playing?
I've been playing that.
Yeah.
The Bloodstained game. That's
I think
been
it's
really
great.
fun. Yeah, it's really good.
And so does IGN. We gave it an 8.2.
Yeah, that's a higher score than Yoku's Island Express.
It is.
I feel like a real idiot because I
I
went
just
on
100%
NVC last week and I was like, I really like this game because it doesn't have knockback damage, and everyone else is like, you're playing on casual mode. I was like, oh, they got me outed, busted.
Seriously? So there is knockback?
There is if you play on like the hardcore mode or regular mode.
Yeah, there's just casual mode and
Yeah.
veteran mode.
But when you play on baby or whatever, the Medusa heads just fly into you and you're like, oh,
That's really good to know. That's a clever way to
inhale the
confuse you.
pain.
Oh, man.
I feel like that's like developers putting in like pirate mechanisms,
Yep.
right? Where
Yep.
if you pirated the game, you're like, Brian, you come on the show, you're like, yeah, I really enjoyed this game, but why is that weird thing like following me around the entire time? Oh, you
He stole it.
that game, Brian.
Exactly. Yeah, I loved Solo, but there was a guy that kept walking in front of the screen in my
The bold choice from Lucasfilm.
Who was that? Was that like Maz Kanata?
yeah.
It's probably Boba Fett.
All right, that is all the scoops we have for this week. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com. We just have one more regularly scheduled Game Scoop next week before E3 is upon us. Please be excited.
All right.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Dan. My name is Damon. This is IGN Game Scoop, and we're out.